On this episode of Blogbeat, we're talking to Jeannie Stanberger about CrisisCommons, along with a collection of other ongoing initiatives that integrate and aggregate a lot of technology and make collaborative and organized relief work possible.
Well, I'm Jeannie Stamberger. I'm an adjunct faculty at the Carnegie Mellon Silicon Valley Disaster Management Initiative, and I'm also the Silicon Valley city lead for Crisis Commons. So Crisis Commons is a loose organization of volunteer techies and non-techies that are interested in coding and working for disaster relief. So we haven't been around that long, a couple years maybe, and the idea came out of the bar camp idea from the innovation sector. And what this means for us now in Pakistan is we've been working together with a bunch of other nonprofit groups, creating open source software and developing lists of things that any volunteer can do to aid disaster relief when disasters happen around. We developed and tested a lot of software in the Haiti and Chile earthquake, and also during the U.S. oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. When the Pakistani floods occurred, we were a little slow to get started, but what we've been doing since then is holding crisis camps around the world. Sarah Farmer heads up crisis camps that are being held in London, and they've been creating basic digital information that's currently not available for Pakistan to aid relief organizations, such as digital maps. So that's with a collaboration called OpenStreetMap. We've also teamed up with groups such as Ushahidi and Sahana, which are maps that report incidents from the ground using a variety of sources. We verify the information in a couple different ways. Some of it isn't verified. Other information is verified by tracking it to a location. What we found in disasters is that it is very difficult to verify information on the ground, but sometimes your least verifiable sources, i.e. whoever's on the ground at the time, provide the best information. And so we let other people and we tried a bunch of different ways to filter and verify accuracy of information on the ground, but mostly I guess I've been focusing on getting information from the ground into digital formats where others can look through it and parse it and analyze it and slice it. Um, so what we're going to do this weekend is one of our more unusual crisis camps. Um, which is going to be a marathon crisis camp around the world, which we're going to go for 20 hours, and we're going to have 5 or 6 camps, some of them running simultaneously, and we'll hand off projects as they go. So it's going to start with Sydney, Australia, Bangkok, and Silicon Valley, and Toronto, and then Calgary, London, and Sydney's going for 2 days, so it's going to get thrown back to them. Some of the software that we're using are things like OpenStreetMap. Most of the software we're using is open source software, which means that it's freely available, and that means that coders can come in and volunteer coders can come in and add things on. And then also we work with a lot of software where volunteers can come and contribute. OpenStreetMap is one of our shining examples where what you will do is register an account for OpenStreetMap and then go through some steps where you'll be able to see aerial photos of Pakistan, and then you'll be able to trace out the roads that you can see and then identify them. For example, like you could identify a residential area from what you see on the ground or an unknown road, and then that will be saved into a digital map that's available to all relief agencies. So that's one example, and perhaps our easiest example of ways that people on the ground can jump in and start helping. Also, there's categorizing text messages. So we are working with packreport.org, which is teamed up with an SMS sort of messaging system where people can send SMS to 3441 and start them out with the letters FL and send reports, and then the crowd will go ahead and categorize them. So how easy is it to gather and mobilize volunteers? Well, one of the things that we find is that volunteers get very enthusiastic when there's a lot of media attention focused on a disaster. We found that using social media, things like Twitter, Facebook, sometimes LinkedIn, and definitely websites like CrisisCommons are great platforms to energize people and mobilize people. Our camps has been as small as just a couple people to upwards of, gosh, I think the last one I ran had 30 people in it. Um, and I'm sure London has had many more people than that. Our volunteers, we find, are actually extremely skilled. We've got some really great expertise that comes in and helps us out. So we find that even though if we only have a small number of volunteers sometimes, the value that they can add by donating their expertise for free is extremely valuable to relief efforts. How do we build layers on top of Google Maps? So we have a couple different collaborations with Google right now. Google is standing up the person finder, which is a tool that allows you to enter in information if you're a person on the ground and want others to know you're okay. And it also allows you to look for people if you're looking for someone who is on the ground and you don't know if they're okay. Uh, Google has been instrumental in providing mapping assistance through a number of different routes, along with several other mapping groups such as Ushahidi and Sahana, and they work together in a number of different ways to provide mapping platforms that we can add data onto. Crisis Mappers is a group that is similar and almost an offshoot of CrisisCommons. That is a very active group of GIS developers that work extensively on everything from getting satellite imagery to geo-rectifying it, to adding information to it, getting it to be interoperable across a lot of platforms, and then also helping develop tools to analyze the data once it's in there. For people who are in Pakistan, especially those people who are really into social media in Pakistan, we have a bunch of requests. One is we need to know what you guys need. Everything from what technology is being used. For example, we learned that Facebook is used a lot more frequently than Twitter in Pakistan. We would love to get the word out for more crisis camps. We've received a bunch of emails from people in Pakistan that want to throw their own crisis camps. We would love to get the word out about them and maybe have people participate virtually in Pakistani crisis camps, or certainly virtually in crisis camps around the world, or physically attend the crisis camps in Pakistan. That's a great way to meet other people and socialize and get energized around doing something good. We also would love to get information on the ground about how digital tools are being used by relief agencies or specific relief agencies needed. If you have information on the ground that you want to get into any of these interfaces, such as Ushahidi, which is a common operating picture showing its needs, you can go ahead and email it to submit@packreport.org, or send an SMS to 3441 and include capital F, then capital L. And you, of course, can contact me. And the fastest way to get information, and probably the easiest thing to remember, is go to the CrisisCommons.org website, and there are places that you can click to email and contact people directly if you want to know more about either how to host your own camp in Pakistan, or if you want to talk to someone about how you can participate virtually or participate in a camp. Also, there are Eventbrites that you can go to if you want to sign up for a crisis camp. We hope we can do something good for Pakistan. So thanks very much.